Now, let's look ahead. On Monday, the MPC begins its meeting. That's the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria. They begin their meeting for decision to be announced on Tuesday. We've seen inflation number. It's a major factor for consideration for the meeting. We saw that even though inflation is still on the rise, the rate of increase is declining. Let's see if that will change the minds of the committee by Monday and Tuesday. But before we get into that, let's find out what Dr. Josh Bamford. Dr. Josh Bamford is a partner and head transfer pricing and economics at Anderson. Dr. Bamford, it's good to have you this morning. I know the other time we had you during the MPC conversation. Now we are pushing you to go into the minds of the committee, members of the committee, and tell us perhaps what you can draw out as they begin their meeting and conversations on Monday. Obviously, inflation number is top on the list of their consideration.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks for having me. Clearly, inflation is going to be the number one issue that they will try to address come Monday and Tuesday. The governor of CBN has stated clearly that they are going back to the orthodox way of, managing or administering the central bank, which means to focus on price stability. So that is clearly going to be the number one agenda. However, there's also going to be discussions about the potential adverse impact of some of the monetary policies that are being implemented in order to bring price stability. We've already seen, some professional bodies actually reach out to the CBN to discuss the, adverse impact of some of these policies on businesses. So yes, inflation rate is still high. If you look at the rate as of April, 33.69, but the good news is, as you rightly said, the rate of increase is on a decline because March figure was 33.2. So that's less than 1 percentage point. So that gives them some belief or hope that the monetary policies that they're implementing are actually starting to gain some traction. Whether that will be enough for them to halt, the monetary policy rate hikes or continue to increase it because now they are confident that it's gaining traction, that is yet to be determined. But what is going to be high on their minds is the adverse impact on the economy. We all know that 2023 ended up with a GDP growth rate of, around 2.74. And the projections for quarter one of 2024 is between 2% to 2.5%. That is not encouraging. That is around the rate at which the population is growing, which means people are getting, poorer by the day. So we need a situation whereby cost of borrowing, which is interest rates, starts going down so that businesses can borrow, start new businesses, expand, existing projects, create more job opportunities so that we can start witnessing, higher economic growth rates. So that's the dilemma that the CBN and the MPC is going to face on Monday and Tuesday. Do we continue to increase the monetary policy rate in order to bring price stability, which is our core mandate, or do we hold off a little bit because businesses are hurting with high cost of borrowing through high interest rates? So that's going to be the challenge. My view most likely will be that there might be an increase in monetary policy rate, but by a much smaller margin, maybe 100 basis points or 50 basis points. But I think it might still be important for the Central Bank of Nigeria to signal to the investment community and the business community as large that price stability is their core mandate. And until they get that under control, until it tapers off and start decreasing, we might have to make tough decisions, such as continue to increase monetary policy rate.
Well, I just want to, I want to look at this bigger picture. During the last administration of the CBN, they also kept hiking interest rates, but it didn't seem like it was reflecting on inflation or prices. I wonder what this administration is doing differently, or is it just that inflation has peaked and it is now declining?
If you look at this current administration, you look at the June numbers. As of June, inflation rate was around 22.79, and when they took over, and since then it's gone above 30%. We are 33.69. So if you look at the administration's performance per se, that has not been that great. But the good news is that in recent times, there's been more aggressive, monetary policy tightening. You remember when we had a conversation sometime in February, they actually raised the monetary policy rate by 400 basis points from 18.75 to 22.75. That was very aggressive. So I think what has been a bit different when you look at the current CBN governor compared to the previous one is there's more intentional approach to actually bringing price stability. Because to raise the MPR by 400 basis points was significant. Remember, they also raised the cash reserve ratio from 35% to about 32.5% to about 45%. That was also significant. So I think there's a more deliberate, approach to actually bringing price stability from the current CBN governor, and that's the reason why maybe we are seeing these results. Another school of thought will be the fact that 33% is high enough, so at some point it has to taper off and start coming down. So we need to be getting some traction. But we also have to bear in mind there are two major policies that this current government implemented that has not helped them in terms of the fight against inflation. One being the removal of the fuel subsidy, and two being the flexibility of the exchange rate regime. So those two have been, have worsened the inflation rate situation, and that's the reason why the CBN has to do more in order to curb the rate of rising inflation rate and actually start bringing it down. What will bring good news is where we start seeing the inflation rate decreasing. Then we know that they really are gaining traction with the tight monetary policies that they're implementing.
All right, Dr. Josh Bamfo, this is just the beginning of the MPC conversation. You have a follow-on on Monday. Partner and head transfer pricing and economic at Anderson. Thank you so much for your views.
Thanks for having me.